Thursday. Here we are again. I want to remind you that tomorrow you have, let me see, you have a Pythagorean theorem quiz that you're going to be taking. Make sure you know your a squared plus b squared equals c squared and how to use it, what the sides are, what the hypotenuse is, that kind of thing. And you're also going to have another basic skills quiz. So make sure you're prepared with your old basic skills quiz that I believe Mr. McKeel gave back to you on Tuesday or sometime this week. If not, he'll give it back to you today. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the finding the area of a triangle today. And you might be thinking, well, we've already done that. But now we're going to be using the Pythagorean theorem to help us find pieces that are missing. Area of a triangle formula, just in case you have somehow forgotten it, which I really hope you have not, is base times height divided by 2. So make sure you know that formula really well. This problem here, I want everybody to draw the picture and find the area. There's nothing, this is what we were doing last week. So find the area. I'm not actually going to go through this problem at all. Just everybody find it. Somebody share. Make sure everybody agrees. Help each other out if you need to. This problem I do want to go over though. So we have a right triangle that is kind of upside down, I guess if you want to say. The important part about what you need to do is you need to identify where the right triangle is because the base and the height have to come off of that right triangle. So we've got 6 feet up here. This here is what I'm going to call the base. So the base is going to be 6 feet. I'm just taking the base from the bottom, putting it on the top. And then the height would be the part that comes off of the other side. So the height is going to be that side length right there. And then we've got a hypotenuse of 9 feet. So 6 feet and 9 feet. I don't know if you can see that very well, but I'm going to call the base 6 feet and the hypotenuse 9 feet. And I need the height in order to find the area of the triangle. So I'm going to come over here and use the Pythagorean theorem to figure out the height. I'm going to call this, we'll call that h. So I'll do h squared plus, that's one of the leg lengths. The other leg length is going to be 6, so we'll do 6 squared equals 9 squared. Why don't you go ahead and, well, I'll get this part started. So we'd have h squared plus 36 equals 81. We'll need to subtract 36 from both sides because we've got to get the h squared isolated. So h squared equals 45. Did I do that right? Should I just double check that? Hold on, I'm having trouble here. 45, okay, that was right. And then we need to get h. So we're going to take the square root of both sides. H equals, now the square root of 45 is going to be a messy number because 45 is not a perfect square. In fact, it gives us 6.708203933. It gives you an irrational number. So I want you to round to the nearest tenths. In this case, that's going to be 6.7. So over here on my problem, that's going to be a height of 6.7 now. But that's not what our job was. Our job was to find the area of that triangle. All I did was find the height. The reason I found the height is because I needed to find the area. So now that I have it, I can say the area equals base times height. So 6.7 times, and then the base was 6. So that's the base times the height divided by 2. If you're using your calculator, which you probably are, you can type in that whole thing all together. So 6.7 times 6 divided by 2. Type in the whole thing all at once. You don't even have to put parentheses in there anywhere, not with multiplication and division. But you should have ended up with 20.1. Help each other out with calculator use if anybody's having trouble not getting that. 20.1. And then the measurements and distances were feet. So the measure in the area would be feet squared. And that would be the answer. Moving on to another one. For this one, I'm not going to go through the entire thing. I think you should. But the part that I want to go over is that your right angle would actually be right down here. So your base and your height are coming off of there. So I would say that this is your base and this is your height. which is kind of goofy. So you'd have to use the Pythagorean theorem to find the base of the triangle, because all you know is the height and the hypotenuse. Okay, but I need to get to a different type of problem, so I'm going to move on from here. The part I'm going to move on to is when you have not a right triangle at all, but a different kind of triangle. So this one, if you remember, is called an equilateral triangle. All side measures are the same, and you don't need this, but just in case you remember, all angles are also the same in an equilateral triangle. So we've got 18, 18, 18, and we don't have a right triangle. But in order to find the area of this, I need the height. And last week when you were working on finding area of these, you were given the measurement that goes right here, and you were given that measurement. So it came down to a right angle here, and it said 9 or 12 or whatever the measurement is. But I don't know it, and I need it. In order to find the area, you have to know the height. So I know the base, now I need to know the height. So what you're going to do is you're actually going to break this apart and just look at this half. That's a right triangle. You actually have two identical right triangles that are created here. The trick is that you're not going to use a base of 18 though, because each of the triangles only has a base that's half the total base. So this is going to have a base of 9. So you'll do 9 squared plus h squared equals 18 squared on that one little triangle. So we have 9 squared plus h squared equals 18 squared, and that's going to get me the height. This is 81 plus h squared equals, if I hadn't been working on this all day, I'm sure I would remember this, but it's 324. Okay, we need to solve for h squared, so we're going to get rid of the 81. So that leaves me with h squared equals, and we have 324 subtract 81, that's 243. Okay, we need to get the height, not the height squared, so we're going to take the square root of both sides, and the height is equal to the square root of 243 is. Again, it's not a perfect square, so it's an irrational answer. You're going to need to round to 1 decimal place. This problem, when you type it into your calculator, you get 15.58. Since that next digit's an 8, that needs to go up to a 6. So I'm going to say 15.6. If we were just asked to find the height of the triangle, that would be my answer and I could be done. But the directions are find the area. So the area of the triangle is going to be the full base. Remember, we're finding the area of the entire triangle. The full base is 18, multiplied by the height of 15.6, all divided by 2. Okay, so let's type this in. 18 times 15.6 divided by 2. Hopefully you got your calculators going, and you got an answer of 140.4. The measurements up here are in inches, so when we write our answer for area, it's going to be inches squared. Okay, there we go. Very good. This is a little bit different type of problem. Actually, it's quite a bit different, and this one's going to take a little bit of work. So label it, draw it. There is a line that goes right here. It's just very thin, and we don't even know the value of it. So go ahead and get everything written down. Pause it if you need to. There are two things that I need on this triangle. One is I need the height of the triangle so that I can find its area. But I also need the base. All I know is that this measurement is 5. I don't know anything about this measurement. So what we're going to do is we're going to do two different Pythagorean theorems. One, we're going to ignore this triangle, and we're going to use this little triangle here on the right just to find the height of it. Because I know this measure, I know that measure, and I've got one measurement that I don't know. So we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem there. We've got 5 squared plus, I'm going to call this A. I'm going to draw a little A there. Equals, and then the hypotenuse of that triangle is 10 squared. So 5 squared plus A squared equals 10 squared. And we're going to figure out what the height of that triangle is, one step at a time here. So this is 25 plus A squared 100. Get the a squared by itself by getting rid of the 25. So a squared, or the height squared, is equal to 75. 75 is not a perfect square, so you can expect to have to round your square root here. A equals, and we got to do the square root of 75. It's 8.66, which is going to round to 8.7. So this height right here is 8.7. So if you remember, the second part that I don't know is I don't know this measurement right along here. So now we're going to go to the triangle on the left to figure out that. Because now I do have the height of this triangle, I have the hypotenuse, I just don't know the base of it. So we're going to do the Pythagorean theorem one more time, ignoring that triangle, to find the third and missing side. I'll switch colors here. So this time I'm going to call this B. So we'll do 8.7 squared plus B squared equals 16 squared. So that's 8.7, B squared, 16 squared. It can get messier and messier, so we got our calculators here. I'm going to do 8.7 squared equals, that's 75.69, so that's going to get rounded up to 7. 16 squared is, 256. We need to isolate the b squared, so I'm going to get rid of that 75.7. B squared equals, so we had 256, and I'm subtracting off 75.7. 180.3. And we still have to get b instead of b squared, so we're going to take the square root. Sorry, I kind of cut some of that off a little bit. There we go. Square root, so b equals, and now I've got the square root of 180.3. 13.4 would be the estimate to the tenths. 13.4. So this measurement right here, I'm going to erase. Is 13.4. So when you go to find the area of the triangle, don't forget that we need the length of that entire base. So this part of it is 13.4, this part of it is 5, so the entire measure is going to be those two added together. So our entire base is going to be 18.4. So we've got a base of 18.4, a height of 8.7, and now we can find the area. Area is equal to, the base was 18.4, multiplied by the height, which is 8.7, all divided by 2. Whew, this is a lot of work. Okay, so let's see here what we got. We have 18.4 multiplied by 8.7 divided by 2. 80. And this you can answer just as the answer gives you. So it says 80.4. I'm going to go with that. And I don't have any labels on it. So when it doesn't have a label, you just say unit, and area is unit squared. Area is 80.04 units squared. Okay, I'm going to bring up one more problem. And I'm going to have all of you go through it together. I'm going to run out of video time here real shortly, so I can't go through it, unfortunately, with you. But you're going to need to find the height. You're going to need to find the other part of the base, find the total base, and then you can go ahead and find the area. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with that. Mr. McKeel, when you're done, will tell you what your homework is. And, yeah, happy Thursday. Bye-bye.